Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything Pistons, and news writer for Sports Illustrated.
And on the behalf here of the Pindown, for all of our listeners, I just want to welcome all of us to finally it being basketball season. I know the Tigers, they're doing great here in the playoffs. They just beat the Guardians. Awesome, love that. Lions are obviously playing good football. We love that too, and the Red Wings are going to get started up here too. I think they're in their preseason. But look, we had Media Day earlier this week. We've got Pistons preseason basketball here on Monday. We made it, all of us, we made it together. Welcome back to the NBA year. Let's go.
And I have my fantasy basketball draft on Monday, I think.
See,
so
I don't know how you do that stuff. Like that fantasy basketball, I play a little fantasy football. Fantasy basketball, it confuses the heck out of me. Like it's almost as bad as fantasy baseball because I know those guys have to be like setting pitchers every day of the week or something. It's like I can't do that. I don't know.
The leagues I do are good. It's like essentially you only take points from like one game a week from a player, so it like makes it a little easier to follow, but yeah, it's a lot.
Like that again, I got lost. I have no idea what you just said. I don't understand that.
It's okay.
I believe you.
It's fun, especially like I'm in one dynasty league, so you can sort of draft who you like and keep them throughout their career. But yeah, it's a lot. And I mean, like this year I've lost so much attention on fantasy football just because my team stinks and it's hard, but yeah, basketball is back, and like fantasy drafts are just another marker that I have to let us know that we're here.
So usually I help my wife's fantasy football team out. I'm kind of like a ghost manager. She genuinely does most of the stuff. All right, I kind of come in and like give a little bit of advice here and there in the back end. The biggest thing though that I usually do for is help out with the draft. And this year, the draft was on a night where I was driving home from my classes that I'm teaching, so I wasn't able to help much. And it's unfortunate to say, but the team's not won a game yet. So we're trying to be active on the waiver wires. We're trying to actively manage the way back to being a little competitive. But yeah, not the best fantasy football year here for the Davenport household, unfortunately.
There's still a lot of season left to go. I'm in a similar boat if it makes you feel any better, but it's all, I mean, there is, I guess, some skill, I guess, but it's like luck for the most part because everyone gets hurt, things change, and
yeah,
it's just whoever's the last one standing.
Yeah. And all right. So DB Derek Brooks, he's already got a question here in the live chat. If you guys are tuning in live with us, make sure you're taking advantage of that. We actually got a ton of pre-submitted questions here too. So we're going to try to get through all of those, plus whatever our live listeners are going to put into the chat here. But before we get to any of that, we did have Media Day. So what we wanted to do was spend maybe the first 10 minutes here of the show just talking through some interesting quotes that we have found, right? Because Blake and I, we were joking before the show, 90% of Media Day, it's, hey, we're in the best shape of our lives. The team's going to be really good. Love our guys. The offseason was awesome. Put on 15 pounds, right? We wanted to pull out some quotes that weren't that actually felt a little bit substantial, at least to us. So I'm going to throw the ball over to you. We'll have you pick out your quote first, and let's just talk through some Media Day stuff here for a minute.
Yeah, my favorite part, and I think I could definitely pick something a little bit more consequential, but I still think this will impact the team. But I'm just so excited that the Ausar Thompson and Ron Holland 9 to 5 thing is back. Like
I love that quote too, like labeling it the 9 to 5 pairing because you make them work 9 to 5. Oh,
yeah,
that was so awesome.
And
was that Ron who said that, or was that Ausar?
I think it was Ron. I think Ausar said it, and then Ron also talked about it too. It might have been Omari, but I could be wrong. But I think someone asked Ron after Ausar said 9 to 5, like about it. So yeah, I think I saw something about the whole 9 to 5 nickname coming back once Ron changed his number to 5, but that sort of exited my brain, and Ausar Thompson just reminded me of it. And it's just cool to see that like the players embrace something like that. And I just feel like it's the perfect nickname for the type of players that they are. Obviously, the numbers that they wear and everything. And one thing I like, I think it was either Ausar. I think it was Ausar who said it, but he just mentioned that they're both different types of players. They're different types of defenders, but they can still cause chaos when they're playing alongside each other. And I thought that was just the best way to describe them, because at least I felt over Ron Holland's rookie season, I was sort of trying to compare him to Ausar Thompson a little bit, and he is not Ausar Thompson, but just that scrappy defender, super athlete. But they are different types of players, and it also proved to me a little bit. And I know Ausar talked, or I think Ron mentioned how Ausar is just watching film after every game. Like how Ausar spoke and then what his teammates said about him really just reinforced in my mind that this guy, in addition to a freak athlete and a top tier defender, like he just seems like the best kind of guy that you want in your locker room, who's going to put the work in and really just has a good head on his shoulders overall. And he's not someone that you'd ever have to worry about not putting the work in or taking shortcuts on anything.
All right, so here are the quotes, because this was like, peek behind the curtain for you guys. This was the top of our outline. So both Blake and I thought that these were this was just an awesome moment. So Ausar Thompson first, he gets asked what he and Ron Holland can do together on the court. By the way, all of these quotes are going to be from our guy Omari Sankofa II from the Detroit Free Press. So good time to shout out. If you're not following him, if you're not reading his work, you guys should be over at the Detroit Free Press. And of course,
listening to the Pistons Pulse. Yeah, yes. There you go. I had to make sure.
Omari, Bryce, myself in the background. We're really looking forward to next week too, because we're going to get to record pretty much not right after, but the day after that first preseason game, and do a lineups episode, so you guys can look forward to that. But I digress. So here's what Ausar Thompson says. He gets asked about him and Ron Holland. He says, just cause chaos, just be able to cause chaos and turn it into offense, make those fast breaks, and be able to get as many stops in a row in general when we're out on the court. That's what we bring to the team. And so now referencing that 9-to-5 tandem on defense with Ausar Thompson, Ron Holland says, one thing I want to pick up from him is right after games, he's straight up watching film. It helped me defensively and offensively, or it helped him defensively and offensively. We're two different types of defenders, but we both cause chaos. And then here's perhaps the most important quote of this whole string. And this is from the head coach, JB Bickerstaff. He says, we're expecting both of those guys, Ausar Thompson and Ron Holland, to take steps, and the way they take steps is if they get opportunities. And just the way the lineups go, they're going to have to play together more, and I expect them to. So not only does it seem like, Ausar Thompson and Ron Holland, they're kind of embracing that defensive first mentality out on the forward positions here in Detroit. Not only are they embracing that and, the chaos that they can cause together, but Bickerstaff is expecting to lean on it a little bit. And I think that's really important, not only because, you're looking at that backup four position, you're kind of asking who's going to play it, but like JB said, right, if you want Ron Holland to take a step, he needs opportunities. He's got to earn those, but this is a really good way to earn those extra opportunities, right? Being an incredibly impactful defender and pairing out on that forward position with the Pistons' already best defender in Ausar Thompson.
Yeah, and I think it's something you brought up actually in a recent show, how you're looking forward to watching those two specifically play alongside each other. And I just think of the media day and all the generic quotes we get, and we're obviously listening to everyone talk without a game even being played yet. That is definitely something that we can take away from this. I mean, we all could have assumed that Ron Holland and Ausar Thompson were going to play alongside each other, but it seems like there's definitely an intentionality about it with JB Bickerstaff, and knowing that those two specifically, when they're on the floor together, can provide an advantage that not a lot of teams in this league have something similar. Yes, it comes with some flaws, some things that they're working on, but I mean, man, those guys running in the open court will be awesome.
Yeah, and look, this is still a wing and forward league, right? So we already know Ausar Thompson's at that level defensively, where he can guard 1 through 4 on any given night and make an incredible impact. But if you could even get Ron Holland to be like a 2-4 kind of defender, the flexibility that both of those guys would offer you on the defensive end of the floor would be through the roof with their athleticism, their length, and their willingness to actually be high effort and energy defenders. So I think that's incredibly exciting. Like those two guys, and then JB coming up behind that and saying, yeah, we're expecting this to actually happen. That got me pumped up. I can't lie. Because you also had Ausar Thompson. I know we're talking about, hey, that they put on weight, they bulked up, best shape of your life, all that stuff. But look, Ausar Thompson said he added good, healthy weight. Omari just the other day reported that Ron Holland was estimating he added 15 pounds of muscle. Doubt that, but that would mean that he did work on his strength, right? So he's at least a little bit more bulked up than he was last year. And both of that, like, if you could have both of those guys just to have the flexibility to really play 3 or 4 while still having the athleticism to drop down to a 2 if you really, really needed to. Not that you're gonna with the way this roster's set up, but just to have that there. Oh man. I mean, that could be the future of that team. So yeah, they had me juiced. I was pumped up.
Yeah, and just both of them having a full off season. I mean, you can go talk about this with most players as long as they're not hurt, but Ron Holland, his first off season in the NBA, Ausar after everything he dealt with at the end of his rookie year and the end of or into his first off season, like having both of those guys seemingly at full strength and being able to work on that strength, work on other things of their game, I think. And also after they were in the same locker room last year, like getting chemistry with the rest of the group as well, I think it'll be huge. And for both of them being able to take a step. So yeah, it'll definitely be must see, like a league pass team for people not in the area when Ausar and Ron are on the floor together.
And I like what a YouTube user said here. He says, players who take pride and enjoy playing defense are not the norm. And we have 2, really 3 if you count Isaiah Stewart. Yes, I love that. So that was a big takeaway from Media Day. A couple of quick hitters. A lot of conversation about Jaden Ivey and him looking like he's back, right? So Tobias Harris said that J.I. has the athleticism, the speed is all the way back to where it was, and you can't tell he missed a beat, which is awesome. Cade Cunningham asked who had, a really good offseason. He said J.I. coming off of injury, looks like he's been progressing fast. The next 2 names are Ron Holland and Ausar Thompson, and then he immediately said he feels bad because he left off other people who also had a good offseason. Typical Cade as the leader, but still, I think noteworthy, right, that those are the 3 guys that came to mind first for him. And then probably the one thing that Pistons fans have been waiting to hear all summer, and that is Isaiah Stewart saying 2 seasons ago, I shot almost 40% from 3. It's a weapon, especially when we play certain teams and different coverages. I look forward to bringing that back. Hey, Isaiah Stewart, like we've been saying, he's going to shoot. He thinks he's going to shoot too. Awesome. That's exciting.
What do you think was the reasoning for that? Like, do you think it was something that JB passed along to him, and now after this offseason, after what, like, that can obviously be something that helps this team? Like, do you think JB, that's like a direction straight from him that maybe he went against potentially his own philosophy after he came back in or after his first season with the team?
Okay, so my honest tinfoil hat, not really a tinfoil hat, but my honest theory as to what happened last year with Isaiah Stewart is that they looked at the numbers and Isaiah Stewart struggles in pick and pop. And it's true. Okay, he does. He struggles as a pick and pop big because if he doesn't have an open shot, the play's pretty dead, right? He's not great at rotating the ball, and you do not want him putting the ball on the floor. If Isaiah Stewart is driving from the perimeter, the defense has won that possession, right? That's just not a good situation. We saw that plenty the year prior when he was playing more at the 4. So I think that JB took that and said, look, Isaiah, no more pick and pop stuff, right? So you're going to be a pick and roll big, which plays much more to his strengths, even though he's more of a ground bound kind of guy, right? Even though he's more not really that lob threat, he is pretty good in the short roll. And if you can kind of give him that little pocket pass, He's got the little floater. He can go to a hook shot. He's really physical, and he gets the shot up pretty well around the rim. So that's just where his strengths are. So I think that was the initial, right? And I think that then you've got a player that takes that and is trying to do what his coach tells him, and then now starts turning down other shots. Because Isaiah Stewart turned down a ton of threes last year. If you're a big, pick and pop's not the only way that you get to shoot. He was involved in a lot of DHOs where you're not necessarily rolling right after you hand that ball off. You kind of pivot and take a step back. He could have had some of those. He had some looks that he turned down, especially though as a trail man on the fast break. On the rare instance that Isaiah Stewart is not the first guy down the floor, which I love him for. I love how he sprints those straight to the rim. Amazing as a rim runner. But if he's not the first guy and he's trailing the play, there were quite a few where he could have popped the shot. He's open and he passed up on it. So again, my theory is JB and the staff, they told him, hey, you're a pick and roll big. You're not a pick and pop big. Let's get you near the rim. Let's play to your strengths more often. Isaiah Stewart takes that as, okay, don't shoot the ball anymore. And then that's why kind of the last month of the season, you saw him actually start taking a little bit more. I bet that the staff was on him like after the All-Star break saying, hey, like you could shoot some of these. And then like YouTube user said, JB had been telling him to shoot more. I assume that was in the context of like this off season, right? I don't myself know the full context of that quote. So I'm assuming that Stu is saying over the summer, it was JB Bickerstaff telling him to shoot more. I wouldn't be surprised if that was happening at the back of the year as well, because it was really weird. It went from, it was kind of an all or nothing thing, and that's usually not the coach, at least not in my experience. Usually the all or nothing thing is the player kind of reeling back and trying to go all in on what their coach is trying to tell them, which you don't. That's a good thing, right? You want to be enthusiastically doing what your coach is instructing you. That looks really good as a player, and that's what you want as a coach. I just think he took it a little too far.
Yeah, that's interesting because, 2 seasons ago when he put up all those threes, like I never thought he was afraid to take a shot or didn't really want to turn anything down. And then it totally flipped to the opposite last year. So yeah, it's an easy observation, but I think a middle ground is the answer. So what you said about playing more as a catch and shoot guy as opposed to a pick and pop guy, I think definitely makes sense. And if he's playing alongside Ausar Thompson and Ron Holland, like that makes their lives a little bit easier if he's going to be more of a catch and shoot guy. If Ron Holland's three, it takes some more time to come along as well. So yeah, I'm definitely excited for that coming into the season. I think it was definitely one of the real things you could take from Media Day to get excited about.
And just like to put a bow on this, if you guys, listeners out there, if you go back through, if someone is really excited about this, I believe, call it like 85, 90% certain, as long as my memory's not failing me, you could go back, go look through our guy Omari Sankofa II's tweets, go all the way back to the start of last season. And the comments you will see from JB Bickerstaff, I am fairly confident, are saying, we don't want Isaiah Stewart pick and popping anymore. We want him to be a roll big. We want him near the basket because that's where he's good and that's where his strengths are. So just to give myself a little more credibility, I'm basing my opinion on that. That's why I think that's how it went. I think Isaiah Stewart heard that and then he took it too far, because it seems odd that you would have a guy that was a 40% three-point shooter and as a coach say, if you're wide open, don't shoot it. Like I think it was a play type thing. And then Isaiah took it in a different way, which is, fine. It happens. Let's get to some of the questions though. First, wanted to open up with this one here from Gil Medina on Twitter. And shout out to Gil. He DM'd me, had a lot of nice words to say about the podcast. So look, we both really appreciate you. Thank you for listening and thank you for this question. So he says, with all the trade proposals being tossed around, how do you guys rank the Pistons core in regard to most to least valued by the organization? And then where would you place future draft capital in that ranking?
All right. So that's a good question because I think How I think about it is draft capital, no matter what team you are and where you are in the league, it should always be up there because you don't want to, I guess, take picks out of your cupboard. Things can change. You never know what's going to happen. But that said, I think the Pistons do have some next to untouchable guys, and those for me would obviously be Cade, but I think Ausar Thompson is in that realm as well. So I would go in terms of how I'd rank the assets that the Pistons have. I'd go Cade, Ausar, draft capital, and I'll say first round draft capital if we need to specify there. And then after that, like Ron Holland and Jaden Ivey is probably next for me, and Jalen Duren at the bottom. And I don't think that necessarily means that this team is going to look to trade Jaden Ivey or Jalen Duren. I think if there is a deal where they're going to bring an all-star type player, like I know there was some Lauri Markkanen chatter this week, I think thanks to Bill Simmons, like that.
I think it was Zach Lowe.
Okay, yeah, someone over there.
Same thing, national media. Yeah, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good. I want to get it right, obviously, but if you're going to make one of those trades, you have to give up something to get something. And teams are like you saw the haul that Desmond Bane went for. I think if the Pistons were going to get Lauri Markkanen, it would take a similar package, and that is a ton to give up. But I think you're looking at the price for these guys that are going to be immediate contributors who are team controlled. It's really a young player, some picks, and then salary. So the Pistons are probably going to have to part with one of their young players. I would be shocked if one of those young players meant Ausar Thompson. I think Cade is just totally out of the conversation, so I'm not even going to go there. But to me, it would be like Jaden Ivey or Jalen Duren, some picks, and then unfortunately, you probably have to include Tobias Harris if a deal is getting done this year, just to make the money work. And that's a heck of a lot to give up. But because the Pistons haven't made one of these trades, and some of it was because they were hindered by owing that future pick, they'll have to part with some good stuff, unfortunately. Like, I'd love to go and get a Lauri Markkanen for essentially free, but that's not going to happen, especially when Danny Ainge is on the other end of the phone. So overall, I just mainly think like Ron Holland, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren are the young players that could be in trade conversations to me, but I would be pretty surprised if Ron Holland got shipped out. It would have to be in like a no-brainer deal to go and get an all-star type player. But I think more likely than not, it would be one of Jaden Ivey or Jalen Duren, some picks, and then the money.
Can I make the argument that maybe Ron Holland, from the viewpoint of the Pistons organization here, would be more valuable than the future draft capital?
Of course.
Because, well, so here's my thing. All right, I think you look at Ron's skill set, right, and what theoretically he could be. It doesn't feel like a stretch to say that his ceiling is far higher than the expected ceiling you might be able to get out of a player somewhere in that pick 16 to like 22 range, which in all likelihood is where the Pistons are looking, as long as they continue to meet expectations over the next few years, right? And that's actually kind of on the low end. If they really become competitive, now you're looking at the upper 20s. Like, would you rather have Ron Holland, who's a 6'8", looks like maybe he can handle the ball, maybe there's a shot there, good defender, great athlete, right? Maybe there's a not a superstar, but maybe there's a star player. Or would you like some, specialist shooter that is plug and play and can come in and get you minutes, but it's kind of a Duncan Robinson replacement sort of deal, which is more what you're expecting out of that later pick. So to me, I think I would expect that the Pistons front office might actually have Ron Holland as more valuable than a future draft pick right now. I mean, we'll see, right? Give it a couple of months here. If Ron Holland looks like he maybe regressed or something, then, okay, this is a whole different conversation. Knock on wood, right? I'm not trying to speak that into existence. We all know how much I'm excited about Ron Holland's game, but this can change. I would just say as of right now, you'd probably rather have Ron Holland's potential than someone at pick 18.
Yeah, that's certainly fair. And I think mainly the reason I would put picks slightly in front of Holland is just because I'm thinking of it as more of if you're trading a first round pick, you're more than likely giving up multiple in the deal. And that just, if you include those picks in a trade, you can include the other picks that you have for another year, and you owe your future picks, and flexibility just goes out the window. I mean, I would be truly shocked if Ron Holland was included in any trade. But it's just, to me, we've seen it before with unknown play. I mean, the one that sticks out, and it's certainly different, but when Halliburton gets sent out, things like that I just think it's easier to include a player than giving up your draft picks. And that doesn't mean it's the right choice by any means. So those two, all your draft capital, and then Ron Holland would pretty much be neck and neck for me. And like Derek and YouTube user are pointing out in the chat, Ron was Trajan Langdon's first draft pick. I'd be surprised if he was willing to give up on that this early. And he doesn't have a reason to. So, they would just be right next to each other for me. I just don't think Ron has really got up to the untouchable range yet for me, but that could certainly change in the matter of this season.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I love Ausar Thompson. I don't know if you'd throw him in that untouchable range either. But look, this is a fun question here from DB. Thinking about those extensions. All right, so he asks, Ivey and or Duren extended before October 20th. Both, neither, which one? And if we could pull up the quote here from Trajan Langdon on Media Day, very diplomatic, as you would expect out of him. But he says, we're excited. They're both members of the Pistons. They will have huge roles. Whether or not we get deals done, I don't know if that happens. So there's Trajan Langdon on those extensions. So what do you think? Is one of, both, neither going to get a deal here?
I'm leaning toward neither. I think both of them are going to go into the year and just play under their rookie deals, and we'll see if an extension gets reached at any point. I just think right now, and Langdon said this, he said they won't say anything until there's a decision. And that's how I'm taking this. We won't know until we know, which is tough because there's so much unknown. We can predict things. And I think they're both valuable assets to this team, and you want both of them to remain, but it is a tough decision. You have to, we know that neither of them are in that max extension range right now. Who knows I don't think Jalen Duren will get there just because of the role he is. Maybe Jaden Ivey is a 20-point a night guy, and he probably doesn't even get close to the max there, but a little bit closer than he currently is. So it sort of stinks that we won't really know until we know, but that's how all these things go. You don't see any GM or player be like, yeah, I'm going to be here for a long time or anything, because things can change so quickly. And that's just how I'm taking it. Kind of, it's what I expected to hear. And I guess it's nice to hear what you expect to hear, but it's sort of a non-answer for now.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's a non-answer. I think it's the right non-answer too. Like you said, you don't want to overplay a hand one way or another. Also, YouTube user brought it up here in the chat, but he said he really likes that Ivey and Duren were saying that they're focused on basketball and that their agents are handling the business for them. I loved that too. That was the perfect right answer from both of those guys and from Langdon as well. So yeah, I'm with you. I don't think either are going to get that extension preemptively. This probably goes out to restricted free agency. And I mean, I guess there is a non-zero chance that this is kind of a, I don't know, do you want to say like kind of a tryout or something like that? Like one of these guys needs to prove that they're indispensable to the team. The other one you might see in trade rumors come, February for a bigger name, or maybe even next offseason in like some sort of sign and trade situation. I'm not like, I don't know if I'd bet on that, but it's a potential outcome here, at least worth mentioning. Right. So there was a fun one here that I wanted to get to, talking about Jalen Duren. There it is. This is from our guy, Epic Wayne. It says, defense is obviously the thing we're looking at with Jalen Duren, who, by the way, at Media Today said he feels a little quicker and is expecting that helps him out on defense. But he continues and says, but what do you think of the hypothetical additions of a floater or a jumper to his game and what they would do for the offense?
I mean, obviously it would help, but I'm just not banking on Jalen Duren to be taking long twos or threes or anything for this team. But the floater is like a huge shot that he can use to increase his game offensively. Like we saw last year, Isaiah Hartenstein get all that money from Oklahoma City, and he made that money in the paint just doing little push shots like to the basket. So I think that's an incredibly important skill for a big to have. And you know how good of a rebounder Jalen Duren is, how good he is near the rim. If he can become a little more efficient, a little further away from the basket, that only helps him and helps answer some questions about if he is going to get an extension, if he's going to be this team's starting center of the future. So I think overall, like, I feel like bigs, if they aren't shooters, the potential for their shot is always talked about over the offseason. And I really just don't buy it, I guess, until I see it in the game, which isn't a knock on Jalen Duren or anything. But I think the floater specifically is definitely something that's possible. And if we see more of that, it only helps his case and helps this team.
Yeah, I don't mean this in a mean way, but I'm right there with you. Like with the shooting thing, there's nothing other than like faith, trust, and pixie dust in the hope that he's going to get a jump shot. There's no reason to expect that he would be at any point in his career in a shooter. And it's okay, that's no big deal, right? That's not why you drafted him in the first place. You drafted him because he's this incredible lob threat big, awesome athlete, and has potential as a defender and is already a very good rebounder. So like he's already on that path. That's great. Let's just keep him working down that way. So I think the floater would be really, really great if he could actually add it. So MimC313 asks if a floater for him would clog the middle for Cade. I would say no. So the reason that floater would be really impactful for a guy like Duren is right now, if teams really counter his lob ability by checking him really hard on the roll, right, making sure he doesn't have that clear path to the basket, which a lot of teams are going to do more and more and more, especially with some of the shooting, catch and shoot shooting that the team lost here over the offseason. So I would expect that this is going to happen more often. Not only is there that minor spacing concern, but you also have a proof of concept here with the Knicks. The Knicks did that entire series, and you really didn't see too many big, impactful lobs there from Cade to JD. So what the floater would do is when Duren has to go to the short roll, right now, if we just assume we're taking his skill set from last year and moving it to today, he really only has one productive option, right? When he gets the ball in the short roll, he needs to find an outlet. He needs to pass the ball to somebody else. And thankfully, he's a pretty good passer, so there was some success with that in the playoffs as well. But if he puts the ball on the floor, tries to drive to the rim, and last year tried a push shot or a hook shot from maybe that midway point between the hoop and the free throw line or somewhere closer to the elbow, even on a worst case scenario, like returns weren't great. It didn't look all that good. It wasn't all that fluid, looked kind of awkward. And truthfully, that's a win possession-wise for the defense, for the Knicks. It was a win for them. So if he can add the floater, well, now he's got something else he can go to, right? If you give the ball to JD in the short roll, he doesn't have to pass it. He doesn't feel like he has to put the ball on the floor. He could take one power dribble and just do a floater from, a few feet away from the hoop. And I'd say he's got the touch where you can have hope that there's potential for him to actually do that. He's flashed this a couple of times in the past. So I would be very excited about the floater, actually. I think that would have a pretty strong impact for the offense altogether, just because it gives you more options, right? If they're not letting Duren roll to the rim and you have to play him as a short roll big, well, now he has a counter. If the moment he gets the ball, the defense drops off really quickly and starts playing the baseline. Like, he could just hit the floater over the top. So anything that makes the life for the defenders more difficult, I think, is a win. And I think that the floater would do that for him.
Yeah, sort of like you said, I just see it as another tool in the toolbox, and I don't think it would necessarily take space away from Cade. I see it more as, and if Jalen Duren is near the hoop and he doesn't have the space to go right up, he can go to the floater, or he can use it when he's rolling, if he has the space to make the shot there. And Mimsy is also talking about Duren lobs to Ausar, which I like that idea too. If Ausar can make baseline cuts with space as Duren is rolling to the hoop, I think that would be awesome. And we've seen Duren flash his playmaking ability as well, which I assume will only get better with time. So yeah, I think overall, if JD does go to the floater, I don't think it would necessarily hinder the offense in any way. And yeah, it would just be something else he can add to his game, which is only a good thing at this point in the career with how young he is still, especially.
And I'll just say too, like, final thought on this is the reason that guys like Cade, guys like Luka, all the great pick and roll operators in the league today, and going back into the past too, like Chris Paul, right? Pick and roll, when it's done well, is so beautiful and so fun to watch, because it's pure read and react, right? It's two guys working together to try and put the defense in a less advantageous position and make something happen. So when you've got a guy like Cade Cunningham that's running the pick and roll for the Pistons here, if Duren gets checked up and he's got to roll into that elbow space instead of going all the way to the rim, well, that means that the big is not under the hoop. Like, in theory, if they start really going to this, there's more space under the rim for Cade Cunningham to go and finish and draw a foul. It's tight, right? Because you're dealing with the space from the elbow to the front of the rim as a potential recovery from the center. But again, if Duren has that floater and he can hit it from 10 feet or in closer than 10 feet even, then the big doesn't want to leave. So in theory, like, this actually is a spacing positive addition for JD. If you could have him hitting that floater in the middle of the paint, not only does that raise that defender that's guarding him away from the rim on a pick and roll, which means they're not recovering to the block, they're recovering to the elbow. That's great for Cade, right? If he's going to take advantage of that. And then if he starts recovering down, you just kick it back out to JD, or you swing the ball around, right? You could have more space. So I think this would actually be a spacing positive addition. I like how I put that. That's what I'm going to roll with.
Yeah, and like even better for players like Ausar Thompson as well. Like Mimsy pointed out, I think it can only help not fully eliminate, because I don't think you can ever fully eliminate it, but decrease some of those, like Ausar getting left alone, because he'll have more space to make a move to the hoop or whatever it might be.
All right, a fun one that apparently Tony Buckets wants to give us some shade for because we didn't answer it a couple of years ago. But this is our guy. Though. No. He says that he asked if we didn't answer. So okay. Look, our sincerest apologies to our guy Tony Buckets, but had to take it this year. Who's dropping 50? And you know what? I'm going to say you can't say Cade, because that's such an easy answer. Like, it's about time. He's due. He's too good of a scorer. That's the obvious answer. I think Cade, I think we both would agree, like, the most likely player on this roster to score 50 would be Cade Cunningham. But as he brings up in this question, so he says, last year we guessed Jaden Ivey. The year before we didn't answer, but it was actually Malachi Flynn. So it's not always the most obvious answer, Blake. So maybe I'm helping you by taking away Cade.
Yeah, I mean the answer is definitely Cade. Like his career high is 43, and it's hard to score 50 for anyone, but we saw it can come at random times with Malachi Flynn, even Sadiq Bey a few years ago. So I think, unfortunately, I'm going to go with the other obvious answer, which I think is Jaden Ivey. I just think he will have the best chance to do it because of the type of player he is and the type of role he'll have in the offense. His career high is 37. So, I mean, I don't think I would necessarily predict that Jaden Ivey has a 50-point game this year. I don't even know if I'd predict one from like, I think Cade could probably get it done, but it's just so hard. But overall, I'd have to go with Jaden Ivey. I won't even give any other like under the radar candidates because that would probably be stealing your answer. YouTube user says Ron Holland. I think that's a good one too. But yeah, go ahead.
He stole YouTube users beat me to the punch. I was gonna say, here's my like ultimate dark horse. Oh God, no! I'd love it. I don't think the thing with dropping 50. And the reason that I think, anyway, that we have some random players every now and again do it is that in order to actually score 50 points in a game, you not only have to get like unconsciously hot, you also just have to not care that you are chucking the ball, right? Mm-hmm. You need shots unless you're going to James Harden your way to it, which honestly I think would be the easiest way for Cade to get there. He's had plenty of 40-point games. If he just gets to the line like 10 times, boom, there you go, right? So if you're not going to do that, then you just need to be getting up shots. You don't care. You don't want to pass. You're feeling good, and you're just letting it fly. And if looking up and down the roster, the guy who has that mentality, in my opinion, the most is Ron Holland. Like, I don't know the odds that he would get hot enough to warrant this, but I have little doubt if Ron Holland was just absolutely feeling it one night that he would put up 25 shots without a blink. He wouldn't care. He'd do it. Like, I think Jaden Ivey might care. Jaden Ivey likes to think of himself as a bit of a playmaker. That's part of why we like him, right? That's part of why he's kind of a true combo guard, and you're pretty comfortable with him running that point guard off the bench. Karis LeVert's the same way. Like, he can get hot and he'll get going and put up a bunch of shots, but like, he's also kind of a playmaker. They want to trust him to do it. So I think Duncan Robinson's that's a good name as well here.
By the way, I'm looking up these guys like career highs. Duncan Robinson dropped 36 points in a G League game.
Yeah, there you go.
But his NBA career high is 34, so that could be something if he gets unconscious. I mean, Karis LeVert is the other one that Sports Time brought up that fits the mold as well. I'm trying to look up his career high really quick, but Karis has a 50-point game.
Oh,
that might
right. But no. All right, so this makes it more unlikely that it's Karis LeVert because how many guys have multiple 50-point games off the bench?
Oh my God.
It's not going to be a lot. That's a tough query on Basketball Reference. I got to think that it's pretty rare. I'm sticking with it. I would say if I had to guess either, because I'm going to cheat, I'm going to say two players, either Ron Holland or Duncan Robinson. Ron Holland as just a pure bet on confidence and the lack of shame to put up like 30 shot attempts on a given night. Like maybe this is at the end of the year. They've already locked up their playoff seeding and they're just like, Ron, go see what you got tonight.
Yeah.
He'd put up 30 shots and I don't think he'd care at all. And then Duncan Robinson's very similarly wired. So those would be my two. That's who I'm going for.
Well, I mean, I think those like March games, especially if they don't matter, are the candidates for this, for better or for worse. Like, and I mean,
100%.
That's when we saw Malachi Flynn. That's when we saw Sadiq Bey. Like, I mean, the only other name I'll throw out is like what if Marcus Sasser is in there?
I was thinking that. What if he just has a night? He's in there injuries or something, or it's March and he's going to put up his shots.
That's all it takes. And just like fun, quick NBA trivia, the most 50-point games by a player is Wilt Chamberlain with 118. The next closest is Michael Jordan with 31.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
No one's breaking Wilt's record.
No, LeBron's been playing since 2003, and he's not breaking that record either.
LeBron just has 14. I mean, that's impressive in its own right, but like...
One is impressive, yeah.
Yeah.
What did you say? Wilt's 118. 18. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
There's a guy that gets ignored in those all-timer conversations, right? Okay, so fun one here. I really like this. This is from Newfie. Says that he expects teams will continue to put mediocre defensive bigs on Ausar Thompson. So can we expect to see the Pistons counter with point Ausar to take advantage of his burst? Do you see more of a benefit to that, right? Him working as a ball handler rather than a jump shot?
I mean, I think we heard JB Bickerstaff say this a bit in media day that he wants Ausar to play with the ball in his hands a little bit more. And I think especially when you have a player like Cade Cunningham, who is going to be the center of every single opposing game plan, JB Bickerstaff and the roster has to find ways to take advantages where they can. And I mean, I definitely think that this is a way that they could do that. I mean, I doubt we'd see Ausar controlling the offense for the majority of games or anything like that. But it seems like something that there might even just be a mandate for, that Ausar should play with the ball in his hands a bit more. And I think with as good of an athlete he is, as good of a rebounder that he is, as quick as he is, so on and so forth, like it only makes sense, especially if he is playing a bit in the second unit alongside Ron Holland, Isaiah Stewart, even if Jaden Ivey is still out there on the floor as backup point guard. And with so much talk about how this team is going to fill that backup point guard slot, like, yeah, Jaden Ivey is going to do it, but he's not going to be able to the full time. So I think you might see a little bit of Marcus Sasser, even though that's not his ideal role, but maybe the third solution to this, like your third guard, is Ausar Thompson. And I think we've seen his ball handling be something that is developing in his game. And I don't see any reason it'll get worse by any means. It should only take an additional step. So, and yeah, like Mimsy brings up something to watch in this preseason is how Ausar's handle looks. That's the perfect time to try this out if you're thinking about it during the season. So yeah, I definitely think we'll see it at certain points. And I think it's a way that the Pistons can create advantages, which is going to be important for them because no team is going to overlook them anymore after what they did last year.
Yeah, so I'm actually two things. One, when JB made the quote that he was going to get the ball a little bit more, he very quickly followed up by saying in the fast break. And I think that was in the context of like mentioning too that between him, Ron Holland, Jaden Ivey, that those guys are like some of the fastest guys in the league, and that's going to be a lot of fun. So getting, like you mentioned, like the grab and go stuff for Ausar, I think that's going to be pretty big. So YouTube user says that Ausar just hasn't shown me enough with his handle to justify on-ball reps. Hopefully it's much improved. I'm much closer to that. So like I've said this before, and it feels so weird to say because Ausar's like a top 1% athlete in the NBA. Vinny Goodwill, when he joined us on the Pistons Pulse, he was cracking me up because he said Ausar Thompson might be one of the best athletes in the NBA. He's not the best athlete in his family, but he's one of the best athletes in the NBA. And that's absolutely true, right? So he's incredible. But like Ausar Thompson with the ball in his hands is like the fastest robot you've ever seen. He's really stiff. Like he could pull off those spin moves, but he's like his hips are locked in one direction whenever he's moving with the ball. Like he's a chest up, hips back, very robotic handler. And like he's incredibly fast with it. So maybe that athleticism, just the raw speed and ability to move is going to make him, help him overcome that. But like, and Mimpsey's giving us the laughing. Like, yeah, it's really weird to say, I know, but like if you go back and watch it, he really is. It's like a chest up, hips back, and he's really stiff, even though he's moving a million miles an hour. I think that a better counter to this putting a big on Ausar Thompson thing is to get him moving. Like, similar to the idea with Jaden Ivey, you don't have to have the ball in your hands and initiating offense to be able to have the ball more. So I think if you could run Ausar Thompson, that guy's so fast and athletic. He doesn't even need a screen. Just have him relocating all the time. Have him baseline cuts, right? Kobe cuts, Iverson cuts, like wherever he can go, wherever he can move, just keep him in motion. Because with a guy like Cade as a playmaker and Jaden Ivey to an extent too, I think that they're going to be able to hit him in a spot where he's open and in a really advantageous position to take advantage of it. And I'm thinking in particular like around the elbow and kind of 18 feet out there on the wing, not necessarily all the way out on the 3-point line. So if you could get him in motion and you've got a big, 230 pound plotting, 6'10" guy following him around, that has two benefits. One, they're not able to do that, so they're going to have to switch off of that pretty quickly. You'd imagine Ausar is going to be able to take advantage of that. But two, tires him out. So now this is helpful on the defensive side for the Pistons' perspective as well. So I really like Ausar Thompson. I think there's a good counter to this, but I wish that they'd use him a bit more like a super athletic Draymond Green at his peak in Golden State. Like kind of have him as that middle hub, move him around a ton, make him a chess piece, but don't have him handling like pick and roll reps from the top of the key. I think I would personally draw the line there.
Yeah, and I think if he does get those on-ball reps, it'll mainly be in the bench unit. I guess I'm just thinking more so because JB said it, but like you said, in the fast break, and I think that makes more sense as well. But just when you think about Jaden Ivey can't play the whole game, like are there going to be times where Jaden Ivey and Cade are both off the floor at the same time? Like what does it look like then? I don't think you're necessarily going to want Ausar out there as your primary ball handler, but maybe he'll see a bit more reps in that scenario. And I could see them handling that a bunch of different ways. Like maybe it's a Ausar, Karis LeVert combination, Marcus Sasser combination, whatever it might be. But yeah, you can see it at times, but I don't think it'll be like his calling card or anything like that.
Yeah, like I think if you're looking for players that are capable of initiating the offense and every now and again, like taking an ISO rep or the majority of pick and roll ball handling reps, I think you're looking at obviously Cade, Jaden Ivey, and then like YouTube user brings up Karis LeVert. I think he's going to get quite a bit of these as well. Right, those are your three like primary ball handlers is my expectation. So when you're looking at like Ausar having the ball in their hands more, it doesn't mean that he's going to get a lot of ISO possessions now. I would love to, rip and go, right? Just have him be a little bit more of a feature in the offensive system where you're trying to get him in a position where he can attack and use that athleticism that he has. Maybe you put him in the short roll, right? Maybe you have him as that baseline cutter that we saw them do in the playoffs last year. There's a lot you could do. You just got to get creative. And one of those things that I wouldn't want to see is Ausar ISO from the 3-point line on the wing. Like maybe it works. That's not the guy I would like to see isolating. Honestly, I'd rather see Ron Holland do that. And I don't want to see ISO Ron as a play that they go to all that often. Like let Karis take it, let Jaden take it, let Cade take it. If you need a Tobias Harris post up in a pinch, perfect. You go to that. Otherwise, let's get all these other guys kind of moving and have the offensive system put them in a position to succeed rather than just like, hey, you're going to be a pick and roll ball handler now. DHOs, that's another good one. Like have them come off an elevator screen immediately into a DHO going off to the baseline. Like that'll put a guy in a twist. That'd be great. Like create advantages for the guy. I think that's where you want to go with Ausar.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, I think it's tricky with Ausar a little bit because you don't want to make him sink or swim by just giving him a ton more on ball reps
100%.
or like initiating, but you want him to get some. And it's tricky because I don't think he's like a Isaiah Stewart, for a bad example on who you don't want to put the ball on the floor, but it's obviously a guy that you don't want as your lead initiator majority of the time, or even some of the time, maybe. So I think it might be a bit of a trial and error period to start and see how it goes. And if he looks a lot better than expected, then great.
Yeah, for sure. And just to answer the final question there to make sure we don't miss it, but is there more benefit to Ausar Thompson as a ball handler than him having a jump shot? I actually say yes, partly because I just don't think he's going to get a jump shot.
Well, yeah.
But if he could be an improved ball handler, that would be awesome. I very much want to see the ball in Ausar Thompson's hands more often offensively, especially in the fast break, like JB was mentioning. I just would draw a line between Ausar is going to be more featured on offense because he is such a good playmaker and he reads the floor so well, and saying Ausar is going to be a lead initiator for us for X number of minutes. Like point Ausar is something I'd want to push to the side, but like a wing playmaker type, I think that's right up his alley, and I'd love to see him used as that type of chess piece.
Yeah, I mean, I think if he could magically turn into a league average 3-point shooter, like I would choose that. But just in terms of the realisticness, like you said, I mean, I think it's just a way that he can eliminate those shooting concerns, not fully, but at least to a degree, which is it's going to be critical for him to just not be someone the defense can fully ignore as they're trying to defend this team.
Yeah, like think about Andre Karolinko instead of Kawhi Leonard. There's my pitch for you. That's what I'm saying with Ausar Thompson. Look at that type of impact instead of Kawhi being, arguably the best player in the league for like a 2-year spurt there. All right, well, let's do these rapid fire because we're running out of time. All right, so we'll try to go quick. This is from our guy Cliff Dweller. Says, if the Pistons make fewer threes this year, how much can that be offset by allowing fewer threes to the opponent?
Yeah, so just to give some context to this, the Pistons allowed 13.5 3-pointers to opponents last year. That's about middle of the pack in the league. I mean, I don't think where it can be a benefit is you have this elite perimeter defender in Ausar Thompson. Ron Holland's only getting better, so that should elite go down.
Switch big and Stu.
Yeah, so like I don't think they're magically going to be near the top of the NBA and opponent 3-pointers that they allowed, but I'm sort of optimistic about what Duncan Robinson and Karis LeVert will bring to this team. And I don't think anyone will fully replicate what Malik Beasley gave you, but I think you can at least make up for it to a degree by committee, essentially. So hopefully the Pistons overall aren't back down to where they were as a 3-point shooting team a couple years ago. I think they know that this is an area that the offense needs to reach its potential. And I just don't see it falling off a cliff, even without Malik Beasley.
I'm optimistic too. Duncan Robinson, I think, can do a very convincing Malik Beasley impression. And guys, like Malik Beasley wasn't guaranteed to do what Malik Beasley did last year. That was a historic year for a reason. It's not common. It's really hard to do. So I think Duncan Robinson is actually a really good fit for this role. The more I've thought about it this offseason, I think the more I've been sold on that move as just a one-to-one kind of replacement for that floor spacing shot first guy that both Beasley and Tim Hardaway Jr. were. I don't know how much their 3-point makes are really going to go down. Partly, like you look up and down the roster, like Isaiah Stewart's talking about shooting the ball more. Jaden Ivey talked quite a bit about his jump shot, right? And wanting to be able to leverage that 3-point shot to, I think you mentioned even like to use that to get some mid-range looks, because he was studying film of guys like Donovan Mitchell in the playoffs, and they've all got really good mid-range pull-up games. So I don't know how many of the total threes that the team makes. I don't know how much that's really going to go down. I'm sure it will a little, but I'm not too worried by it. Now, in theory, if the Pistons take a hit there, how much could they offset that by allowing fewer opponent threes? Theoretically, they could, right? That could be a helpful way to even that playing field. But you got to remember that comes at a cost too. Like, there's no perfect defense that allows the opponent to score 0 points. That's just not the world that we live in NBA basketball. Like, honestly, it's not even the world you live in any sport other than, like, I don't know, hockey, soccer, baseball. Like, that's not what happens. So there's no perfect defense. If you're going to take away more threes, that means you're moving guys further away from the hoop. You're going to be giving up more in the mid-range, which is usually okay, but you're certainly also going to give up a lot more at the front of the rim, which is less okay. That's the best shot in basketball. So there's a balance there that they're going to have to strike, and I don't really think it can be all or nothing. It's a tough calculation to make. Like, we're not hitting a lot of threes right now. Does that mean we need to pull defenders away from the rim so we could guard the 3-point line more? Maybe, but not if it means you're giving up a ton of layups, right? So it's something to think about. I don't know how much in theory that can really be the solution, so to speak. It's a good idea. I just don't necessarily know how effective it could be.
Right, and teams are shooting more and more threes. Like,
yeah, there's that too.
That's not going to stop, and especially,
I mean, Boston's getting up 40 even if you don't want them to.
Yeah, and especially, like, I mean, without Jason Tatum, like, Jaylen Brown's still going to get a ton of shots. They still have Peyton Pritchard and Derek White and everything. I just think where the league stands, you're not. Like, teams are going to figure out how to get threes up, and that has to be a part of any team's game.
All right, is Tatum going to play this year?
Oh, that video of him, I don't know. I'm not.
And then he's talking like he's close. I don't know.
I think if Boston is in, like, playoff contention, like, then right, you'll hear some chatter about it. But I think it might be chatter at best, honestly. Like, I mean, if he miraculously comes back from that, like, everyone needs to go to his doctor. Like, I don't know.
Oh man, I mean, we were all talking about Jaden Ivey coming back and playing in the playoffs. So hey, we can all convince ourselves of stuff that's not going to happen. Last one, K Money 8 asked us a question about Malik Beasley, and I apologize. We're just running out of time. And we've talked about, whether or not the Pistons may or may not bring Malik Beasley back in past episodes, where we haven't necessarily talked too much about this kind of fun question here from Stewart Up. Says, how many games before Ivey, Duren, and Ausar all collide mid-air going for the same Cade Cunningham lob have the spacing issues from 2 years ago return? So related to the last question, how worried are you, Blake, about the floor spacing here?
I mean, I think the floor spacing is still a concern, a valid talking point for this team. But just going into last year with all the concerns I had about Jalen Duren and Ausar Thompson playing on the floor at the same time, I still don't think it's ideal. But I think there's a way that you can make it work. Maybe you make it work only to a degree, and then eventually we see some personnel changes to fully resolve that, so you don't have two non-shooters on the floor at the same time. Because that is a concern for this team, I think they are going to find ways around it. And especially, like you've been talking about, Wes, we're going to see Jalen Duren continue to play in the pick and roll more. I think if we see, like, Ausar going for lobs, it's mainly going to be on backdoor cuts or whatever he can get from there. I think really the only Ivy lobs you're going to see are in transition on the fast break or whatever it might be. Not to say others in the half court won't happen, but I think there's going to be definitely intentionality from JB Bickerstaff to avoid these floor spacing concerns. There has to be when you have the roster that he does. So, man, if you see these three players collide going for the same lob, I'd be pretty surprised. It would be pretty fun, though, because, I mean, as long as no one got hurt, but I'd assume that one of them would be able to bring it down.
All right. Is it a concern? To an extent. Can I just take us all down memory lane, though, Blake? I mean, this isn't going to be a fun one, but let's do it. Number of players that shot above league average for the Detroit Pistons in the 23-24 season that played more than like 30 games for the team. I'll list them off. This is really sad. Alec Burks, 40%. Isaiah Stewart, 38%. Marcus Sasser, 37%. And that's it. That's it. League average. I'm not even saying like above 38%. League average. You had guys like Bojan Bogdanovic. Yeah, he shot it well. He played 28 games, excuse me. Stanley Amude, 24 games. Simone Fontecchio, 16 games. Their best shooter were 6 games of Danilo Gallinari. Like, that team, the spacing issues that they had that year were far and beyond anything I can remember seeing in a Pistons uniform. And I am remembering the Josh Smith, Greg Monroe, Andre Drummond front court. Like, it was unbelievable how bad that team was as a shooter. Like, they were starting. Sorry, I was laughing so much there. I got the cough going again. They were starting Cade Cunningham, who shot 35%. Jaden Ivey, who shot 33%. You had Ausar Thompson at a whopping 18%. Jalen Duren obviously is not a shooter, so he doesn't shoot the ball at all. And then, Isaiah Stewart was up there at 38%. Like, Kevin Knox was getting a bunch of minutes, and these are 33% shoot. This team was just awful. They were terrible. So no, I'm not worried that the spacing issues from 2 years ago have come back. It would take like the right arms of half of this roster being cut off and forcing everyone to shoot lefty, or maybe some brand new rule that says if you're wearing a Pistons uniform, you have to shoot a 3 with your left hand for the entire game. That's what it would take to get this team that bad from 3. You've got Duncan Robinson. Karis LeVert's a good catch and shoot guy. Cade Cunningham's made strides. Jaden Ivey's made strides. I get that we got, Ausar Thompson and Jalen Duren, and they're going to be starting. But Tobias Harris is a fine shooter, 34 to 36%. He'll be okay. You're looking at the bench. Like, we think Ron Holland took a step. Maybe that doesn't happen. Maybe it does. But you got Isaiah Stewart ideally returning back to what he was that year. Like, they have enough. The question is it enough spacing where, like, Cade and Ivy can really thrive with the ball in their hands? And that's a conversation worth having. But if you're worried about it getting as bad as it was a couple of years ago, sleep soundly. It'll be all right. It's not going to be that bad. They'll be at worst, I think, near average in the NBA.
That's a great rant. Honestly, I can't I can't add much more to that, but yeah, when there was, I feel just like the demons from that season and even seasons before that are going to stick in our heads for a long time. So I think it's certainly a fair conversation to have, but it is nice to know that we're leaps and bounds better, in a better spot than we were just 2 seasons ago now.
Yeah, I mean, like, they didn't even have a Duncan Robinson at that, on that team. There was no one that would just like gun from 3. We'll leave it. Last thing, is there a better 5 for some fast break action in the NBA than Cade, Holland, Ivy, Ausar, and Duren?
Yeah, that's what I'd say too. I mean, I can spend some time thinking about some like maybe the Rockets have a lineup they can put together or something like that, but I would put that Pistons 5 against anyone, at least for grab and go or whatever it might be.
All right, we are running up on time. I know we had talked about maybe having a last second thing to stick in here at the end, but at an hour and 10, I think we can just kind of wrap it up. So everyone who tuned in, thank you for all these questions. We made it. By the time we record again, Blake, the Pistons will have played basketball for the first time since they played the Knicks in the NBA playoffs. We could breathe this out. Let's go.
Yeah, and spoiler alert, what we saved if we had more time was just talking about preseason. But the next time we record, we'll be able to talk about what actually happened, which I think is probably better than just predicting what will happen in those games. So next time we're here, we'll have some actual games to talk about. Reminder to everyone listening, you can call our phone line to ask a question and hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys again for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball.